lot of the content that I've done on this channel has been travel related, and I've never wanted to be sort of this wanderlust type of travel channel that just shows you cool things I'm doing and delicious things I'm eating around the world. I've wanted to always bring you stories from the places that I visit that are meaningful and that you can connect with. My goal has always been to bring you stories from around the world that, one, will expand your worldview, and two, will shrink it at the same time. What I mean by that is you'll understand that this world is huge and it's so diverse and beautiful, and the more you get out there, you realize that we as a species are very similar. We're the same. It's not even similar. We're the same everywhere. We do the same things. We want the same things. So now we come to this juncture in modern history, 2020. You know, a lot of people have sort of joked and speculated that this is going to be a thick chapter in the history books that maybe our kids or grandkids one day will have to study. Hopefully when we reach the end of the chapter on 2020, what we will have our kids learn is that we arrived at a place that is more equitable, that is more that removes the systems that result in the unjust death of black men and women. The issue of systemic racism in our society is everyone's issue. It's an all of us issue. And when an issue affects all of us, then it's going to take as many of us, because it's never going to be all of us again. It's going to take those of us who understand, who want to learn, and make changes within ourselves, within our communities, within our schools, our workplaces. We all have to find a way to do our part. And you know, part of the reason I'm sort of at a loss for words is because I always think like, well, what can I do? What can I do? I can come on here and I can say things, but what can I actually do? And you know, one of these words just keep ringing in my head is just like, use what's in your hand. And what's in my hand, you know, figuratively, because obviously my hands are empty right now. What's in my hand? What can I do? What can I do where I'm at in my position, using however small this platform is, using my voice, using my ears as much as my voice, if not more, to listen, hear, and understand. And those are things that we can all do. We can work for a more equitable society. We can demand answers from our companies, from our corporations, from our places of employment, and say, what are you going to do about this? You know, we see companies who just join the trend. Companies that just throw up a photo or a quick statement saying they continue to stand committed to the fight against injustice, and so on and so on. I mean, you could probably write one of these statements yourself. You've read so many of them. But what is actually going to change? And I think we have to, in the midst of all the protests, in the midst of taking to the streets to demonstrate, in the midst of conversations on Twitter and Facebook, and you know, privilege checking, and you know, people coming back and not understanding. It's just a lot of misunderstanding going around in the face of everything, in the face of how everybody is reacting, and regardless of how we're contributing or not contributing to this conversation. I want us to just focus on the long game and realize that somebody who joins the conversation now, who genuinely now, maybe after seeing this video, maybe they haven't seen all the videos, you know, I want to give people the benefit of the doubt, and I haven't been good at that. I don't want to just get angry and look for things to be angry about on social media, and like I feel like I find myself doing that sometimes. You know, I mean, like, oh, who didn't put out a statement last week? Who didn't? But then I think about, like, well, what does it matter? So they put up a statement. Like, that doesn't change the culture of a company. That doesn't change the structure of your organization. It doesn't change the way the few people of color who might work in that organization feel. And part of the problem is that everything is so divisive. Everything is a team sport. It's you versus, it's us versus you. It's just like, we're not trying to beat each other. It's not who's going to win. It's we all have to win together. And that's not easy to do because it's so much easier to just like fire off a tweet shutting somebody down that makes them feel like shit when maybe they were trying to contribute. And I've done that. And wherever I am on the spectrum of knowledge and understanding and the road to empowerment on an issue like this, somebody else might be a little bit further behind me or ahead of me, and I need to have the humility to know that there's more that I need to learn, and I need to have the empathy to know that I didn't once know as much as I know now, and I can look back at the people who are just joining and say, and bring them along and get them up to where I'm at so that we can start walking together. Being on this platform, being able to create something that is on my heart and on my mind, or show you something that maybe you haven't seen before, or give you a perspective about the world or about myself that maybe you hadn't considered, is why I do what I do. That's all I want. This is the only way that I know how to effectively communicate. Given how many times I fumble my words, or how many times I still feel extremely uncomfortable being on camera. What's more uncomfortable, in spite of all that, is not being heard and feeling like there is no reflection of me, that nobody is telling my story. What a story is meant to do is help you see the world from my perspective, from where I stand. And the more we do that, historically, the more we learn. It's through stories that we would exchange information before there was a Twitter, before there was anything. We would tell a story, and then you would remember that story and learn something. It's through the stories that we developed an interdependence on one another as a species. It's through the stories that we tell that that we really get to know one another, and not just know what the world looks like to you, but feel what the world feels like to you. So I would encourage anybody who can, and in whatever platform and medium that you can, to tell a story, to tell your story. If that's the way you communicate, then do it. Thanks for taking the time to watch, and I wish you all the best.